joined by NBA insider Bill Ryder and our NBA expert. He also does our power rankings every week when the season begins, Colin Ward-Hennigar. Tim, because you're on set, we'll start with you. Overall thought, excitement about this season. What are you most pumped about?
You know, you want to see if the Warriors can do it again. There was so much emotion that went into last year's championship. You could just sense from the rest of their guys on the squad, like, this one was more special. Because when they added Durant, it was like, well, this team's unfair. This is a cheat code. And sure enough, they went out there and won multiple championships. But there was so much emotion. And, man, it seems like that emotion has even leaked over to the preseason as the team is, throwing punches and going at it. So I want to see if they can go back-to-back. I think when you look at the league right now, there's so much parity, but everyone's still chasing Golden State. We're
going to do a deep dive into the Warriors here, but I do want just like an opening statement, if you will, from each of you. Your excitement, what you're looking forward to most with the upcoming season. Bill, we'll start with you. Colin, you can follow.
Yeah, it's following up a little bit on what Doyle said. There's parity, which we knew, and there's a ridiculous amount of drama, which is new. I mean, you talk about the Phoenix Suns have some issues with one of their big men not talking to the head coach, as we understand it from him. Obviously, the Boston Celtics situation with Ime Udoka is really, really ugly. You've got a Lakers squad that still has Russell Westbrook as a really, really bad fit. And you look at that Golden State Warriors organization. I know Colin can speak in the most detail with the most reporting on that, but we've all seen the video of Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole. So many of the contenders or star-studded teams that are out there have a whole lot of drama to contend with, on top of, as Tim said, a really fun level of parity in the NBA this year.
Yeah, I just kind of want to echo what those guys have said. The parity, the idea that the West can go 8-9 deep, that the East can go 7-8 deep. I don't remember a season that's been this wide open, and I know we've said that the last couple of years. But with the guys coming back off of injuries on the Clippers and the Nuggets, and the way that the East has gotten better, the Donovan Mitchell trade, which has made the Cavs a contender now, I'm just really excited about watching basketball this year, seeing how things unfold, because there's always teams that come out of nowhere and are better than we expect, and there's always teams that we expect to be good that aren't as good as we expect. So I just want to see all of that unfold, Warriors stuff aside, which I'm sure we'll get to.
So let's dive into the Warriors. They are the favorite to repeat as NBA champs. Let's start with those locker room issues, because of course we have seen the video. Tim, please do not punch me here on air. We have an exec here. He will come down here. He'll take care of that. But we saw Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole. Message from the Warriors is, look, and Draymond as well, everything's fine. We're moving on from it. But Colin, you're there in the Bay Area and everyone else can follow, but I want to start with you. Is that true? Are they moving on? Or maybe is this the tip of the iceberg of some underlying issues going on in the locker room with the Warriors?
Yeah, Amanda, everything is not fine. Let's put it that way. I know that has been the messaging. There have been, originally before the video came out, they were just gonna kind of sweep this under the rug, saying, hey, these things happen, people get into it at practice. Look, that's out the window. Steph Curry has talked about it. Kevon Looney has talked about it. Obviously, Steve Kerr has talked about it. Draymond has broken their trust, and that is a hard thing to do for a core that has been together this long. So there is work to do. Every single Warrior has talked about that. Draymond Green says, hey, trust is the wrong word. Let's use the word camaraderie. Whatever you want to call it, there are fences that need to be mended with this team, and that's not something that we've been able to say, even when Draymond has crossed the line in the past. This is much different. We all saw the video, leaning in, throwing a full punch at your teammate. That crosses a line that goes somewhere that has not been gone before with this team. So yes, they've decided not to suspend him. Obviously, that is as much up to Jordan Poole as anyone else. Had he come in and said, look, I'm not extending if Draymond's on this team, or I want to trade if Draymond's on this team, things could have gone in a much different direction. So as for now, it looks like they're attempting to move on, but it's clear from what the Warriors have said that there is a level of trust that has been broken, and that's something that's going to take maybe weeks, months, maybe even the whole season to repair.
Bill, what do you think about the Warriors and their locker room issues?
Yeah, just to follow up on what Colin said, I mean, this is a dark and ugly story that deserves a dark and ugly analogy. And the best one that I've heard is I've made the rounds and made calls to the NBA season starting up, trying to talk to as many GMs as possible. As you can imagine, guys, they want to talk. People want to gossip about the Warriors. And the best sort of comparison I got was that to, and I'm old enough that I've had friends who have gone through this, a marriage where one of the people in the marriage, Draymond Green, does a betrayal that's borderline unforgivable, and you try to stay together for the kids, or in this case, the championships. Sometimes those marriages work. Sometimes you put aside that sense of utter betrayal and humiliation, And sometimes once you get back together, and we'll see what happens with the Warriors over the next few weeks, you just realize you can't do it. I think that is the main takeaway. This is the most important team, the most dangerous team a few weeks ago in the NBA, with the biggest question mark in the NBA, despite all the drama in Boston, in Phoenix, and with the Brooklyn Nets. And I think it's really anyone's guess. And I've asked a bunch of GMs to guess, and they've basically thrown up their arms, at least on the phone, and said, who knows? This is going to come down to how that locker room reacts, how Draymond Green reacts, how Jordan Poole reacts, both what we see on the floor and what we don't see. And I think, guys, everybody's guess is as good as the next person's in trying to figure out what in the hell is going to happen and follow from this really bizarre story.
Yeah, I mean, what Colin and Bill are saying are true, and I get it. But Draymond Green, his position on the floor is not a forward or a guard. His position is actually glue guy. He's the ultimate glue guy because he does a little bit of everything. He's one of your best defenders.
Unglued.
No, but I think if anybody can put it back together, it's a guy who's really known as the ultimate teammate. He really does every little thing, and they don't win an NBA championship last year, and he struggled in the finals, and still he started making some shots. And then once he started gaining a little confidence, their whole team changed. He's their best passer. He's their best rebounder. He does all the little things on the floor. And just to play devil's advocate, I'm not disagreeing with them, Jordan Poole pushed him. If I go out tonight for happy hour and someone pushes me, go Google my name and then type in fight. I've been in a few of them. So if someone's going to push me, you have the right to throw hands. So Draymond Green's got enough JU ice. He's got enough juice to be like, yo, young buck, you don't talk to me like that. So I get what they're saying, and they're right. But if anybody could put it together, it's an old, crafty vet who's been around the block and has won multiple championships. I'm not as worried as everybody else is worried about this team's chemistry.
Let me just jump in there. Look, I don't know whether you're right or wrong about Draymond Green getting back on track, but I'll say this as it relates to being pushed versus taking the swing. Tim, you and I have hung out at the Arthur J in Manhattan Beach. Kind of a raucous place, having some drinks, having some cocktails. You walk in, you take over the room. You're a bit of a celebrity. If some idiot, and it happens, in today's world comes up and pushes you, you're not Tim Doyle from however many years ago. You take a swing at that guy and it gets caught on camera the way that it did for Draymond Green, it doesn't matter. You're fired at CBS Sports, your incredible career is over, and you're selling insurance and you're working, for whoever you're working for.
Hey, selling insurance,
that's
Bill.
And your mom's basement.
Hey, do not hate on selling insurance. You want those that sell insurance
No,
out there, hats off to you. You're pounding pavement, you're knocking doors, okay? And, it asks a greater question.
That's what you will be doing.
Most
if you
people
punch someone in the face.
Get fired.
I hear what you're saying. It's a different level. And I think, and again, Colin will know more about this than I will, but certainly talking to people around the NBA, the reaction I have absolutely gotten is Draymond went too far. The video is a really big problem. And this isn't the typical stuff that happens behind closed doors, and it's not behind closed doors anymore. So I hear you, and maybe it'll be fine, but I'm not sure I can get on the defend Draymond Green bandwagon here, as much as I love the guy.
I wanted to see how long it would take for the show to go off the rails. It took us like 10 minutes, so that's pretty good. I will say, if you want to use this, if you get into a fight, one time my brother punched me, but he told my mother my lip hit his fist. That is not the way. He did not punch me. All right, let's talk about the Warriors here. How they actually repeat as champs when it comes to this squad. You lost a couple pieces there in Gary Payton II, Otto Porter Jr. You added some nice pieces there. You have a bunch of young players who were at one point lottery picks there, and you got the same core. So how do they put this together to repeat, Tim?
Klay Thompson, who's he going to be? Last year tied a career low in field goal percentage. He shot 42%, and he obviously had his ups and downs in the playoffs, more downs than ups. And coming off a guy that missed 2 whole seasons, eyeball test last year, Amanda, he's not the same guy. I like Klay. I like that he rides the bike. He does the old kayaking to the game. He's kind of out there, which I like about him, and I find myself rooting for him because he's overcome so much adversity. But I have my doubts that he gets back to the same guy before the injuries. If he does, then this is clearly the best team in the NBA because when Klay Thompson's at his best, 23, 24 points a game, he's one of the top 5 shooting guards in the entire NBA. I don't think he can get back there because he's on the wrong side of his career.
Yeah, to me, what Tim's saying is absolutely right. If Klay Thompson is old Klay Thompson, the Warriors are the best team in the league, basically. But we have to remember that Klay Thompson missed the first couple preseason games because he had sort of a mental block this summer. He said he had trouble getting on the court to play pickup because that's what happened when he tore his Achilles a couple summers ago. So, you know, that slight mental edge that every player needs might be a little soft on him going into the season. That being said, I think to me, this is really up to the young guys. I mean, you guys have mentioned them, but the Warriors have been kind of trying to blend this young and old, and that's been the mission over the last couple seasons. Now they have guys like Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, obviously James Wiseman, and they need them to come in and fill real roles. This isn't an instance of, hey, let's get them 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Those guys have to be successful if the Warriors are going to accomplish their goal of repeating for a championship this season. So to me, that's the most important thing, is how those young guys fit in. I think they did a good job replacing Otto Porter and Gary Payton II with Dante DiVincenzo and JaMychal Green. I think those are going to be great fits. But to me, I'm really looking at the younger guys and how they fit in, because they're going to need to play well in order to get guys like Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson the necessary rest that they need to be ready to make that playoff push.
Yeah, let me throw a strong endorsement to both what Colin and Tim have said. I think all of that is right. And I'll just add that if Klay Thompson is a little bit less than the version we're talking about, the guy that could step in offensively is Jordan Poole, right? So that brings us back to how he responds to the drama surrounding Draymond Green. And if Draymond Green is less effective, or he's not the leader that he used to be, and he's not that glue guy, and it impacts him on the court, and it's an if, it's those young guys that we're talking about, especially for me, Kuminga, but all three of those guys who need to step up, not just in terms of being productive, but in being, not veterans, but guys you can rely on in some big situations, especially defensively and athletically. So before the whole Poole, Draymond craziness, I thought one of those factors or two of those factors were enough to get the Warriors over the top. Now, if things don't go well in the locker room, they need all of those things. They need Klay to play really well, Jordan Poole to step up, and those young guys to be maybe 2 or 3 steps above where they were last year.
Warriors favorite to win the NBA title. Right behind that, they are the favorites to win the West. So, in your personal opinion, Colin, the ceiling and the floor for the Warriors?
Oh, well, I think the ceiling's easy. We've all talked about it. I mean, if they put the Draymond Green stuff behind them, everyone stays healthy. Number 1 seed in the West, repeat as NBA champions. I think on paper, they have everything that it takes to accomplish that goal. In terms of the floor, it could get a little messy, right? Say they can't put this stuff behind them. The chemistry issues linger all year. Say, you know, Steph Curry is going to be turning 35. Draymond Green and Klay Thompson are going to be turning 33. Say the injuries pop up. You know, the young guys don't pop the way that they hope. You're looking at the West. There are some very good teams in the Western Conference. Talk about the Clippers. The Nuggets are going to be better. The Suns, obviously the Grizzlies, and then the Timberwolves are going to be really good this year. I think, you know, the Warriors could be looking at a floor of maybe a 6 seed. And then you think about the Pelicans. What if the Lakers pop? I mean, they could be looking at a potential play-in scenario. That's obviously the worst case scenario for the Golden State Warriors. I don't think it will get there. But because the West is so tough, the Warriors do need things to click in order to avoid kind of a precipitous drop down the Western Conference standings.
Guys, thanks. Hang on just a second here. We'll take a look at the Warriors' schedule as they open the season on Tuesday, hosting the Lakers there 10 Eastern. As you see, Warriors plus 575 to win the NBA championship. Behind them, the Celtics, the Nets, the Clippers. Coming up next, we'll take a look at teams trending up and those trending down. Welcome back into CBS Sports HQ, presented by Verbo on your Friday. And what better way to get you pumped up on a Friday, because the NBA season begins on Tuesday. Enjoy the preseason, enjoy football, and then sit your butts down on Tuesday night, because that's when everything begins. Taking a look at projected highest and lowest win totals in the NBA. Celtics sitting right now at the highest, 53.5, followed by the Warriors, the Bucks, and the Suns. But are some of these teams trending in the wrong direction? Let's welcome back NBA expert Tim Doyle. We're also about to be joined by Bill Ryder. And we have your friend Ro Parrish. You said, hey, I'm going to be bringing in this guy, Ro Parrish. He's an NBA expert. He knows everything. You didn't tell us he would look this good.
I'm not an expert. I just know a little bit about NBA basketball. But officially, baby, you are now rocking with the best. I'm in the building. It's a pleasure to be here.
I didn't know. Look, you could have given us a warning. I would have worn a better outfit as opposed to a pumpkin thing here.
I've never seen him in other than a black shirt. He's like Simon Cowell. Like he only has black shirts. That's all we see of it, yeah. I think it's like a onesie. It snaps in the bottom too, yeah.
Consistency is key.
There you go. There you go. Bill, we're going to bring him in. I know he doesn't look as good as you do, Ro, either. So let's talk about teams trending. Look, Bill, you look great.
It's true.
You look great.
Doesn't have to be said. No, I don't. He looks amazing.
Teams trending up, teams trending down heading into the season. Let's start with the Pistons here. Last season, third worst record in the NBA. They were 23-59. They have not won a playoff series since 2008. But Timothy, no, I lied. I'm going to start with Bill because, Bill, I didn't want to insult you. Why is this team, the Pistons, trending up?
Yeah, I like the Pistons too, and I like the over on their win total. I was hoping they'd stay under the radar. I mean, the main answer is Cade Cunningham plus an improved culture. They're going to move on from Kemba Walker any moment today. And they've got guys like Sadiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart, young players, those guys in particular, entering their third year as rotation players. That's usually when guys make a pretty big leap. But I think the main answer is if you believe Cunningham is going to be a star after his slow start, and I certainly do. You look at this team, its young core, the fact they hustle on defense, the fact they play as a team, even though Cunningham in particular, they have star-level players, they're not going to win the Eastern Conference. They're not going to be a threat in the postseason. But I think you're going to start to see a really good young team emerge this season.
Yeah, I'm totally on board. Let me give you a number here. 24. There was a 24-game stretch last year during the season, Ro, where the Pistons went 21-3. No, not in wins and losses, against the spread. So Vegas had a hard time figuring them out when you go 21-3. And I was just hammering that horse home, okay? All right?
Careful with that.
And I look, and now 29.5 wins. Now, if you've watched it in the preseason, it's preseason. Don't worry that they're 0-4. They're going to be able to be a very fun backcourt. And can we just call them Cade and Jade? I know it's Jade and Ivy. And
I like that.
Cade and Jade is better, right?
Yeah.
It's like Bernie and Ernie from the 70s with Tennessee. Hassel didn't know who they were. They played Volunteers backcourt. But Ivy has a lot of John Morant-like qualities, Ro. He's explosive. He can get to the rim. And Cade Cunningham didn't play in any preseason games, so he got off to a bit of a slow start. But I think he's a superstar. He reminds me a little bit of Grant Hill as far as he makes everyone better. So I think the Pistons are going to be better. They're not going to be playoff better, but they're certainly going to be better.
Pistons will be better, and it comes down to that culture and what they've established as Dwayne Casey. We know what his pedigree is coming over from being the head coach with the Toronto Raptors years ago. It hasn't been great there early on, but now, as we talked about, the culture is starting to build. Cade Cunningham last season, games of 25-5-5. He had 8 of those. The rest of the rookies in the league had 7 combined.
Wow.
So he's a multi-dimensional playmaker. He can score, he can facilitate, and he knows how to make winning plays. I think he's going to be a key cog. And I like the Grant Hill comparisons.
Yeah, I just think the biggest thing is with a young guy like Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham is in year number 2. Bill, you know this. They got to learn how to dance with one another, right? I'm more of a face-to-face guy, Bill. I want the hungry eyes like Dirty Dancing. I want to look into your eyes.
Nobody is lifting you in the air.
No, but they have to learn how to play together. It
tall.
didn't just work right away with Steph and Clay. Like, they have to figure out their roles. I think we're all high on them. 29.5 wins. Hammer the over.
It's very dangerous being on set with you right now. All right, another team trending up. And this was a team that was already, I told you, we have bosses upstairs today. You watch out for that thing. They were a surprise team last season. The Cavs here, and then they loaded up this offseason. They made a huge blockbuster trade for Donovan Mitchell here. Is this a team, Bill, that is trending up?
They are, and I think depending on how the drama affects some of the other contenders, like the Nets and the Celtics, I like Cleveland to be in competition to be a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference. I saw them a couple times this preseason. Donovan Mitchell is going to be so important to what they do. They've got one of the best young cores in the game. I'm a huge Mobley fan. They're well coached. They're deep. They've got some veteran leadership. I love this Cavaliers team, despite the fact I know it's a really crowded Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I think that expectations are high.
Extremely.
47.5 wins. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland. I just talked about the guys in Detroit learning to dance together.
We've heard that they're doing well.
Yeah, but it comes different in the game, right? Like Darius Garland was becoming the guy, and now you bring Donovan Mitchell in. So if you're at the end of the game, You're the head coach. Who's getting that last shot? Like, they're going to experience some growing pains. I love Evan Mobley. When I watch him in person, I see a lot of Tim Duncan in his game. And excellent defender, block shots, great timing. Kind of leads by example. He's got amazing footwork. And to think that this guy is only getting better is a very scary thought. But 47.5, I'm going to go under. I expect them to be really good, but Ro, they got to figure out some of that chemistry.
Chemistry is important. Also, injuries. The best ability is availability. We saw this team have so many injuries last season. But when you look at the greatest scoring performances in NBA playoff history, Michael Jordan, Elgin Baylor, Donovan Mitchell. Those are the top 3 players. Jordan gave you 63, Elgin gave you 61, Donovan Mitchell gave you 57. He's averaged over 35 points per game in a playoff series, but can he elevate his team to advance consistently? That's what we're waiting to see, but I think he's the perfect fit to go with this young core in Cleveland.
Ro has me as a believer. You undersold yourself. You undersold yourself when you got here on set, and I'm like, yes, that is it. I am believing what you were saying. All right, so that's the positive. Teams that are trending up. Let's talk about some teams that are potentially trending down. The Lakers, being one of them, 33-49 last season, missed the playoffs for the second time in the past couple of years with LeBron there. Bill, Russell Westbrook, he's still there. This offseason, you just kept pushing. Get Russ out of there. Get Russ out of there. He's still there. Is this Lakers team trending down?
Yes, it's going to be incredibly ugly, and we're presuming these guys are going to be healthy. Anthony Davis tends not to do that. Some behind-the-scenes things that are going on, besides the fact Russell Westbrook is going to come off the bench, at least in these last preseason games. Anthony Davis, and we've seen this story before, somewhere Frank Vogel's rolling his eyes, says he'll play the 5, but doesn't want to. LeBron James seems super put out. He's gotten a little bit of a word of wars with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and this is a team that's just not very deep, doesn't have great shooting, doesn't look great defensively to me. I talked to a Lakers source the other day on the phone, and I asked him, hey, how's it? How you feeling? Do you have some optimism? You think you guys can fight and maybe turn things around? And all I got, guys, was a great big sigh over the phone of disgust and negativity. It is not a good vibe. I know LeBron James is talented. I get all of that. I know he's going to pass Kareem this year, but this is just not a well-constructed Lakers team. They're not going to be very good. The West is absolutely brutal, and if this team makes the play-in, I think it'll be an overachievement.
You know, 9 years ago, I wasn't married. I didn't have 3 kids. I didn't have a minivan. Life was good. This team 9 years ago, amazing. Problem is, 9 years later.
They're driving around in a minivan.
Yeah, like it has like a bad wheel, like a bad hoof on a horse right now, okay? Like, this is a disaster. Russell Westbrook and LeBron James cannot play well together. Anybody that's ever watched a basketball game, squirt basketball, pee-wee basketball, all the way up to the NBA, they do not mesh well together. Bro, their over-under is 45.5 wins. That means they got to get to 46 wins. Heck no, they ain't getting to 46 wins. Anthony Davis, we don't know how long he is going to play. I've been married 9 years. I've been happy for like 6.5, but we're still going strong. I'll watch the drama unfold. I just don't think they're going to be very good.
When you got AD, you got Westbrook and LeBron, you have 31 combined all-NBA selections. So the talent's there, but it doesn't mix well. When they were all healthy last season, only 1 game over 500. What is their identity? I love Darvin Ham. He comes in. He has a monumental task ahead of him because what are you going to do with these pieces that haven't seemed to fit? Now you're talking about bringing a top 75 player who still can play and Russell Westbrook off the bench. Something doesn't work there. Under everything for LA.
Yeah, great point he makes. Who are they? Are they going to play fast? Are they going to score a lot? Are they going to play defensive basketball? Like, any good team has an identity. The Lakers have a lot of old stars, and these guys were great players at one time. But did you hear the word old?
I did.
You got to start dyeing those grays.
I did. You have an appointment for that, right?
Hey, we're friends here. Dye those grays.
You brought Jeremy a present last time you were on set. I have seen no present here. You've just thrown that hammer at me a couple times. Okay, let's talk about another team we have trending down. Talk about an old guy here. Chris Paul is going to be 38 by the time the season is done here. We're talking about the Suns. So why are they trending down? They went 51-21, went to the finals, lost to the Bucks. Last year, 64 wins for this team, best record in the NBA. We saw them kind of fall apart when it came to the postseason, though. So, Bill, why are the Suns trending down?
Well, I think there's competing forces here. The removal of Robert Sarver is significant. I mean, this is a guy, and this is no secret, the guys know what I'm talking about, who was not well-liked in the NBA, was not well-liked in his organization by the minority owners, was not well-liked by the players that played for him. So that's a positive. But DeAndre Ayton saying that he didn't talk to Monty Williams over the course of the summer is an eyebrow raiser. The fact that Chris Paul's getting older and looks like he might be, and I know it's a maybe, but there are certainly people in the NBA who think he might be washed and as it relates to being a game-changing, playing 75 games and a long postseason player. He's almost 40, and just the Western Conference, guys. The Warriors. You talk about the Clippers are going to be better. I think Memphis makes a big leap. Denver. If you believe in Dallas, that's an interesting team. People like Minnesota. The Pelicans could make a push. So the Suns are going the wrong direction. Chris Paul's getting older. There's all kinds of drama in that locker room, and the West has gotten tougher. I think the Suns will be good. I don't think they'll be the level they've been the last couple of years.
Perfect analysis. I think they could win a series. I think they put a lot of scares into them, but they are no longer an NBA championship contender unless Devin Booker goes ham. Like all of a sudden,
We
Devin
already
Booker.
saw that, though.
But we've seen that.
If he starts averaging like 34 points a game, like he has a crazy ability. Obviously, we all remember the game in Boston when he scored 70 points or how many points he scored. He needs to take like a whole nother step in his game. But like, here's how I break down the Suns. Like the Suns look amazing when they're in the club. Like, they got the fake eyelashes on, they got the Spanx on, like amazing. And then you meet them for Sunday brunch and you're like, whoa, what happened? You look great at 2 a.m. Like the adjustment, the time has passed them by. So always a bridesmaid, never a bride, Chris Paul. He's had an unreal career, but he just can't get over the hump. I'm not buying him as championship contenders.
CP3, the active leader in the NBA in assists and steals all time. No question, a generational talent. But I think he's done. When you look at Chris Paul, he seems like he can play at a certain level, but towards the end of the season, into the playoffs, there's going to be an injury that happens, or he's just not going to be able to play at that same level. So, but you talk about Devin Booker, you talked about the 70-point game, but 40-point back-to-back games in the NBA Finals a couple of seasons ago. That hamstring injury, maybe the series ends a little bit differently if he doesn't come up gimpy earlier in the year in the playoffs against the Mavericks, where they lose at home in the 7th game. But when I'm looking at these Phoenix Suns team right now, I do not see them being a top 4 seed. I'm not even sure. They might be a play-in team when you look at everything that's happened with this Phoenix Suns team. The negativity, the toxic environment. You know, DeAndre Ayton gets that extension, and now there's an extension between him and his head coach. They're not talking. So,
and then they lose that weird game to like the mediocre Australian team in the exhibition. That's not good. Like, that's not like a great, like, feel-good story. So everything's trending in the wrong direction, but they still have some talent there. I think they're a playoff team. We may disagree in that, but they're no longer a championship contender.
A lot of talent. As you said, what? Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, which is sort of
that
what it feels
wasn't
like
personal.
You know, I kind of
wasn't
personally, but
personal.
that's
Yeah,
okay.
that
That's
wasn't
okay.
personal.
Hey,
He's
let's take
one
a
of
look
you
at
guys.
odds. Let's take a look at odds to win the East and the West here, because we have a lot more to talk about. Here's where you're getting ready for the
This
start.
is not a therapy session, Amanda.
It sort of feels like it. It sort of feels like it. Over in the West, the Warriors plus 290 here. Look, we all said the Warriors could very well, the ceiling for them is to repeat as NBA champs. The Clippers are finally healthy. The Suns sitting in 3rd place. We're just going to have to see what unfolds with this Phoenix Suns team. Coming up next here on CBS Sports HQ, we'll take a look ahead to the NBA draft. Victor Wembanyama. Remember that name, why the French 18-year-old is the clear #1 prospect for our experts. We'll break it down where he could be headed next. Sports HQ presented by Verbo. Amanda Garrett, Tim Doyle with you here, getting us ready, getting everybody ready for the NBA season. Are you excited? Scale of 1 to 10. Where are you right now? Like
I'm always a 10.
always a 10.
Yeah, basketball.
Always a 10.
Yeah, I'll take NBA basketball over college football any day of the week. You know, I know why? 2.5-hour games.
Someone who is not a 10, but he is a #1. How do you like that transition there? Victor Wembanyama right now, most of our experts will tell you, it is this 18-year-old from France who is the clear #1 draft prospect heading into next year's draft. 18-year-old currently playing for the Metropolitans overseas. Described as a 7'4" unicorn who can swat just about everything within his zone, is the best shot blocking talent not currently in the NBA. And with also big shot creation, our experts say the race for #1 starts with him. All right, Tim, let's talk about Victor Wembanyama. We were working on his name upstairs. He goes by Wemby, though.
Wemby on his Twitter.
Wemby on his Twitter. So we can go with that right now.
Sure.
What makes him so unique and so special?
He is the best NBA prospect since LeBron James.
Wow.
So go through the NBA prospects since then. Zion Williamson, John Morant, people that you're familiar with over the last couple of years. I wish I could describe his game. I've never seen anything like it. And then when he comes to the States and plays in those D-League exhibitions, he was better than advertised. And when I talk to NBA scouts across the league, yeah, everyone is going to be losing. I call it no victor for a victor. Like, this is like no victories at all. Like, you just want to keep losing over and over again to go out and get this guy. And, you know, I think Chet Holmgren is the latest comparison, but like, he's so far ahead of that. And then when I saw the 7 threes at 7'4", I'm sorry, like that's like not fair. You know, when I used to play like my nerd video games, like Sega Genesis, like you could create like a fictional player. This is what you would create. You'd be like, I'm going to be 7'4" and make threes. Like, this is not real. When I watched this guy play, I was an all Big Ten basketball player at Northwestern. Okay, mediocre, actually honorable mention, but I leave that out. I'm like embarrassed that I played the same sport as this guy. Like, he was like ba-bam with the wand. Like, here's the wand on your head. Like, you have been given, God gave you the greatest, most insane body of all time. Oh, and by the way, you're going to be able to go out there and make shots. I'm like, man, I was pathetic at basketball compared to what this guy has been blessed with. So now it comes to, if you have the worst record in the NBA, it's still a jump ball if you're going to get that number 1 pick. So there's no guarantee, roughly 50%, that you're going to get that number 1 pick. So I think there's only a certain number of coaches that have enough clout, enough juice that can go out there, lose, but there's still a few in the NBA that are left that can go out and do that.
We're going to talk about potential teams that could potentially, we don't want to say tank, but we're going to say tank for him there. You're calling him the best prospect since LeBron James here. We have Gary Parrish here, who is the host of the Eye on College Basketball podcast. Gary, what do we need to know about Victor Wembanyama? Is he the very clear number 1, but also any health concerns for him?
No real health concerns. I mean, there have been some people encouraging him, or at least suggesting that maybe he should, shut it down, because he has locked up the number 1 pick in the 2023 NBA draft. It's wild to think about. In the most recent draft, we were minutes away from it getting underway before we had a good idea of who was going to be the number 1 pick. We already know who's going to be the number 1 pick next year, and it's this young man from France, 18 years old, turns 19 in January. Tim described him accurately. Best NBA prospect since LeBron, and I think you can reasonably also say that he is unlike any NBA prospect or basketball player we've ever seen. This isn't exactly right, but this will give you a good idea of what we're dealing with here. Think about Rudy Gobert on the defensive end, except 3 inches taller. And then think about Kevin Durant on the offensive end, except 3 to 4, 5 inches taller. I mean, this is outrageous what this young man is able to do with the basketball. And like Tim said, when he came to the United States to play against the G League Ignite in his first 2 games on American soil, he actually exceeded all expectations, and the expectations were already through the roof. So everybody else in the world who's going to be in the NBA draft next year is trying to get up to number 2, because number 1, that's already done.
All right, Gary, really quickly then, give me a team that you think could tank for him.
Well, if you just look at what's going on around the league right now, San Antonio looks like a possibility. If Indiana were to make a deal with the Lakers, they could quickly go into tank mode. But just like Tim said, there's going to be a lot of teams, particularly at the trade deadline, who decide it's time to sell rather than buy, and let's lose as many games as possible to give ourselves a chance to land what is undeniably a generational talent.
Gary Parrish, make sure to listen to his podcast. We'll talk about that here in a second. Tim Doyle, we appreciate it. I'm going to leave you for the time being. Jacqueline's going to come on. I know. We're going to talk later after the show. All right, guys, hang on just a second. Eye on College Basketball podcast, Gary Parrish, Matt Norlander. It is one of, if not the most entertaining podcast out there. It is a must listen. Make sure to download and follow, or you can scan the QR code. That's the way it's called, and watch right now. Coming up next, we're going to look at some potential NBA awards. Who could win MVP this season? Is it a slam dunk for one player or another? Also, best bets next.
Welcome back to CBS Sports HQ. Now, we've covered the trends, teams going up, teams going down extensively for the 2022-2023 regular season. Now we want to talk about the favorite players to win each award. So we want to take a look at the odds for our friends over at Caesar Sportsbook. The MVP, we got Luka there, the favorite at plus 390. Rookie of the Year, Paolo Banchero at plus 190, and the Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert, he's the favorite for that one at plus 475. Now here to give us their predictions and best bets, we have Tim Doyle, our NBA insider, and then also our insider, Avery Johnson. You got the hammer. That I didn't realize that was your bit. You had to explain it to me in the commercial.
Well, it only works if you have the winner.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You can't hammer something that it loses, then no one wants the hammer. You know what I mean?
All right. Okay. So now that I'm, prepared for this hammer situation, we want to start off with Rookie of the Year. So the favorite there, obviously 2022 first round overall pick by the Magic. We have Paolo Banchero, the favorite at plus 190. Tim, are you going with him or are you going in another direction?
I'm going to look for value here because I think the Pistons are going to be better, and I think Jaden Ivey has a lot of Ja Morant in him. And I think team success, Coach, matters in awards. So the fact that I'm getting 5-1, I expect the Pistons to be a little bit better. I do think that there's going to be a bit of an adjustment between Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, and guys are going to have to dance together on the floor. But the fact that the team is going to have success and I'm getting value, I'll take a flyer on the former Purdue great.
No, I'm going to go with Paolo Banchero. I really think with Chet Holmgren missing this season, this is his award to lose. Paolo is the premier offensive player in the top 10 picks of this draft. You look at the way he outplayed Jabari Smith in the Summer League in Las Vegas. You look at the way his team is stacked up. I think they're going to really rely on him to score the ball a lot more. He doesn't have a Cade Cunningham playing alongside of him like Jaden Ivey. And because of that, they're going to lean on him to score the ball at a high level. I love his size. I love his durability. He can really play through contact. I think this young man, this Duke product, I think he's going to be the runaway winner with Rookie of the Year, barring any injuries.
All right, so Coach going with Paolo, you are going a different direction. Jaden Ivey, his odds are plus 500 there. All right, moving things along to Defensive Player of the Year. Our friends over at Caesars, they're picking Rudy Gobert. He's got that award a couple of times in his pocket. Those odds are at plus 475. So do you guys like that pick? Coach, we'll start with you this time.
No, I like Mikal Bridges to win this award. He was the runner-up last year for Defensive Player of the Year. Here's a kid that's very durable. I think he's played in 2 or 3 seasons in a row where he's played 82 games. I love his ability to be able to switch multiple positions. We saw Rudy Gobert couldn't even stay on the court in the playoffs against the Mavericks last year, and I'm not sure how much this is going to work with him playing alongside Karl Anthony Towns. So I really like Mikal Bridges. He's a lockdown defender. Came up short a little bit. I think he had a first place vote on 95 of the 100 ballots. So I think he's going to win it this year. He's going to really help that Phoenix defense anchor down. DeAndre Ayton is going to play much better defense behind him as the last line of defense. But Mikal Bridges is a problem solver on the defensive end. So I really believe he's going to win the award this year.
You know how much respect I have for Avery? That tells me that Mikal Bridges is the best on-ball defender in the entire NBA. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to win the award.
Right.
But that's like a guy that Avery would see guarding and would be like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to score tonight. So I have a lot of respect for that breakdown. But I'm sorry, I'm going to pick boring Rudy Gobert. And what Coach talked about was the playoffs. This is not a playoff award, Coach. It's a regular season award. And Rudy's going to be motivated because Utah said bye-bye. He goes to Minnesota where their win total, Jacqueline, at 49.5. That means they're going to win 50 games. And you know what Rudy Gobert does in the regular season? He wins 50 games. So everything Coach is saying is true, but this is a regular season award. Last year, averaged a career high, nearly 15 rebounds a game. I know it's boring, but I think he's going to be a mom this year. A man on a mission. And this is a T-Wolves team that I think is going to be really good. So give me Rudy Gobert.
I've never heard that. Man on a mission, mom. Okay, I thought we were going in a totally different direction, but I like it. Okay, so moving along to most improved players. So Anthony Edwards is favored there at plus 850, but you're going to go in a different direction here.
Yeah, I think this is like James Harden's make or break year.
Okay.
Because he's at that age now where he has to reinvent himself. I found it very interesting that he took less money to stay in Philadelphia. So meaning like, this is all in here with the 76ers. I talked about guys get awards because of team success. Jacqueline, it was only a few years ago that this guy was averaging 30 points and 10 assists. Now, he's clearly not the same player, but I don't think he's as bad or is going to play as poor as he did in last year's postseason. I think this is all about the mental makeup and the physical makeup of this offseason. If James took it seriously, he goes out there. the 76ers have the best record in the NBA, and he goes out there and leads the NBA in assists, I think there's crazy value here at 60-1, Coach.
Well, this is a nice pick, Tim. But James, your best ability is availability. So we'll see if he can stay healthy this year to support your pick. But I like another guy. I like R.J. Barrett. R.J. Barrett, after the All-Star break, he went from averaging 18 points to 24 points. I think he's going to average about 23, 24 points this year. I think he's ready for a breakout season in his fourth year. I believe R.J. Barrett's going to make the All-Star team. He's going to be a much better player because he's finally playing with a stud of a point guard in Jalen Brunson, who's bringing his winning ways and the way he prepares for games. He's won at Villanova. He helped lead the Mavericks to the Western Conference Finals last year in the first round when Luka Doncic missed a couple of games. And I think R.J. Barrett's going to benefit the most from playing with Jalen Brunson and finish that type of momentum and the efficiency as he had post All-Star break when he averaged 24 points. Lights out. I'm going with R.J. Barrett, most improved player.
So R.J. Barrett for Avery, you're going with Harden. Maybe you saw Harden's, his picks in the offseason of him, or preseason, I should say, working out over the summer. I don't know. Maybe you got something there. All right. Moving along to the top pick to lead the league in scoring, Joel Embiid. He led last season. Also, it's always a conversation about him being MVP. Do you think maybe he's going to go off, put out some crazy numbers to prove that, hey, this is my year to be the MVP?
The last 2 years, he has averaged nearly 30 points a game, over 30 last year. Crazy thing is he shoots over 37% from three. This isn't fair, Coach. He's 7'1". He's an amazing offensive player. He can put the ball on the floor. He's a great mid-range jump shooter. Question with him, right, is always the games. How many games are you going to get from him? I think for him to win an MVP, he's got to be north of 70, which is a number that he has a hard time accomplishing. But as far as getting buckets, I know Kevin Durant is known as the best offensive player in the NBA. I'm sorry. I think Joel Embiid has the best offensive package right now in the NBA.
All right, Coach, we'll send things over to
I'm
you.
going with Luka Doncic. If you looked at Luka this summer, he was phenomenal this summer playing in Europe. He had 36 points against Germany, 47 against France. He's coming into the season in much better shape. He normally gets off to a sluggish start to start the season, but I think he's appeared to be more focused and determined this year. He's going to have to do more without Jalen Brunson. So I just think because he doesn't really have a Robin like some of the other guys, Giannis has Middleton, James Harden, and obviously Embiid. I think this is Luka Doncic's year to lead the NBA in scoring.
All right, and last but certainly not least, we want to get your picks for the MVP. Tim, who do you got?
I think Joel Embiid finally gets over the hump. The stats are there, and I think 76ers coach are going to have amazing team success. How about you?
Well, I'm going with a sleeper here. I'm going with Devin Booker. I think this is going to be a breakout season for him to win MVP. He's got the contract extension in the offseason. They were embarrassed in Game 7 last year against the Mavericks to advance to play against the Warriors. Chris Paul, we know obviously he's had some health issues. So I think Devin Booker is going to put this team on his back and have his best season as a pro and narrowly nip Luka Doncic for the MVP this year.
Avery Johnson and Tim Doyle are experts giving us their picks for the awards for the upcoming 2022-2023 NBA season. And quickly recapping those picks for Rookie of the Year, Tim likes Shaden Ivey, while Avery is going Banchero for the Defensive Player of the Year. Tim's going Rudy Gobert, while Avery is going with Bridges. Most Improved, Tim likes James Harden, and then Avery is going R.J. Barrett.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.